What the fuck?
Just
are
do
you
it
talking
already.
about?
Just do it.
How
Just
many
do it.
people exited the
Do the
vehicle?
thing.
Do what?
Do the thing and walk away. Do the thing everybody's been doing today and walk away.
What have they been doing?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked
Objection,
and
Your Honor,
answered.
non-responsive.
I'm gonna reach into your pocket.
He's not
take it from me,
responsive.
Who is he talking to?
The witness
the
will
fucking
sit
coffee,
down,
Carmine. I
Counselor
don't
is
care.
addressing you
What?
directly. Answer his question.
I drop it.
I had an objection.
There he is.
What's your
Okay.
objection?
Asked and answered.
This ain't a
Asked
bottle
by
cap thing.
the previous lawyer.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sincerely.
Counselor.
You serious?
And,
What is
I'm trying
this?
to clarify,
Why is
as
it
it seems like
shaking?
he was asked this a few
I
times.
don't know.
A few
The
times.
both
of
Yeah.
you. Shit. Oh,
So I'm trying to
What the
ask a
hell?
clarifying
I'm so
question
sorry,
here so we can
Carmine.
get his story right.
Keep it down.
Okay, he's fucking smoke.
I see where you're going with this, Counselor. We're going to allow it this once, so the witness will answer, but we're not going to circle this point multiple times.
Absolutely not.
What was the question?
I know what they want. I guess here we go.
Okay, how many guns?
Ah, ah, ah.
Sure about that. Earlier you stated something about you weren't sure if you were gonna go with one.
What the fucker? What the son of a? That shit was scalding.
Put your fucking hands up.
What the hell?
You're not gonna be a witness anytime today, Carmine.
L Cop.
Your Honor.
Hey, Johnson,
Honors.
Guildbois, suck a dick.
Okay. Your Honors.
What?
Just want to let you know, unfortunately, I was running a little late, but my assistant is here. It's Nino Chavez. So he's,
Notice of entry of
he's here.
additional counsel,
Yep.
Nino Chavez.
He's right there. A little late. There was traffic.
Wait, what? What's going on?
Yeah.
Routing you.
Welcome aboard, Nino.
Oh, all right.
He's an attorney.
He's an attorney.
Prosecution, do you have any objections to this?
I mean, I'd like to understand how many
good to see you,
more
Jerry.
they're gonna add.
How you doing?
Like,
Yeah, doing all right.
are we gonna end up with like
What's this
10
case about?
lawyers here? What's the deal?
I don't know. Maybe you add a couple more. Oh wait, nobody
Okay,
wants to
shut up, no
work
back
with
and
you,
forth.
bitch.
Prosecution, do you have an objection to this?
Fred put out a bounty for Boris the Bear for
Okay.
1 million dead or alive.
No, I don't have any
Yeah.
objection.
I
to
suppose
that.
not.
Happened to
Honor.
cross P. Chingle
All
dressed
right,
as Boris the
defense,
Bear
we're,
at
we're going to
Chumash
cap you off at a
P.
1-to-1
Jingle got,
ratio on defendants and attorneys, so you're
aggressive
running out of room. over
and
there,
got
okay?
shot down. So
you're
we are
more
Who's,
than
What's
adding
what's it?
experience.
What the fuck's a pitchingle?
P. Chingle Dan.
She's a female.
The name of the person.
Understood, Your
It-
Honor.
All right. Our next witness was
so-
going to be Carmine, but considering he got
Wait,
stabbed
say
in the
that to me one
bathroom
more
for
time?
some reason,
P.
Oh,
Chingle
no.
Dan was dressed as Boris the
Jimmy
Bear
Frost
and got
instead.
Okay.
aggressive
Is he
towards
dead?
the
Like, do we
guild.
have
So the
to
guild
I
shot
do not
It was a
know.
single gunshot. He should be back
and
soon.
we are
Right
The
arguing.
now.
guild doesn't do illegal shit. What do you mean?
Your Honor.
Wait, what?
So,
Back so soon?
We're all
Jingle was
here,
just like
so it
Boris the
wasn't us.
Bear. There was a bounty
Stanton,
for
when
Boris the
Bill
Bear
gets back,
wanted
let him know
dead
that
or
he's
like an
alive by.
actual bear?
receiving
Yes.
additional
Boris
charges
the
as
Bear
well.
is a real bear.
Look
P.
at the
Chingle was
projector. You see the
dressed
projector?
as Boris the Bear.
Boris the Bear dresses up like that when he plays in the arcade.
All right, please raise your left hand.
Wait, really?
So
Yeah.
y'all fucking shot like a
Do you swear to
person?
tell the truth?
Thinking it was a
we
bear?
dressed
a
woman up as a bear and put
like
under penalty
80
of perjury,
rounds into her.
So help
And we
you
give it to
God.
the cops that
Look,
much.
stop recording. Stop
But-
recording.
Guys,
But-
The witness has been sworn
Yeah.
in, Your Honors.
Carmine in the bathroom.
Who?
Yeah, we know.
Hey, Frost. How's
They-
it
they-
going?
they
I
announced
should've let everybody know.
Who the hell you, man?
That's awesome.
It's time.
Oh,
It's
fuck.
time.
Maybe
Hey,
I'll
Terminator.
sign you for Milk Manor Season 2. We'll talk.
Oh, sounds good.
Positions.
Salute, everybody, I guess.
Wait, where's
Oh,
Finn
God.
Gill?
The best part is you can't run.
He's here. He's sitting down.
Oh, he is today.
Hey,
Wow.
hey, clear the way, Elon.
Fucking running.
Hey, clear the way, clear the way. Hey, clear the way, y'all. Clear the way. I'm about to run. Clear the way.
All right. Do we have everybody here from the defense and prosecution?
Oh, yes, he did. Defendants are all
Everyone
accounted
here
for,
from
Your
the
Honor.
defense, Your Honor.
Yeah, I think we're good, Your Honor.
Okay. We have DOC posted up. What?
Oh, I'm gonna fucking run. Watch me.
I feel like that was a joke, not a real question.
Yeah.
Nothing can
Oh,
stop
W.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Signal.
The noise is
W.
gonna be
In
going
front
off
of
more.
the doors, please.
Oh, it's not a good sign. What do you mean
that's
that's a
not a good
good sign? That is a bad sign.
I feel like it was a joke.
If they lock the door, then I'm gonna break through it through my powers.
Powers, Saab.
Make sure you grab me when you do that.
Say that shit.
All right, peanut gallery, hush back there.
He's gonna break through it with his powers.
Okay. Justice Montag and myself poured over the evidence. We examined the forensics evidence and reviewed witness testimony, as well as read the police report statements listed on the docket. This case appears to be a very clear-cut instance of constructive possession of a hot gun, multiple hot guns, used in the homicide of Peachingle Dan.
W.
We reviewed the evidence with defendants Denzel Williams,
Massive
El
W.
Saab, Keith Wanderlust, Fiona Stewart, who were all arrested with firearms that linked them to Chumash Pier and the site of Peachingle Dan's murder, where she was unceremoniously dragged and stuffed into a Crown Victoria. With defendant Haverford, questions arose when it came to the firearm that he had in his possession. Allegedly had in his possession. After reviewing evidence contained in People's A, which linked Haverford to the yellow building in which he was witness on top of, photographs and the evidence showed his blood DNA was cataloged in the People's A as being collected from the same rooftop. And this is the same rooftop, where a Desert Eagle was located at the base of the ladder. While the other defendants were in clear possession of a firearm that linked them to Peachingle Dan's homicide, this was just not the case for Lars Haverford. So we had to go ahead and separate the defendants in that regard.
What? Bjorn, let me fucked!
The firearm or the weapon is in your physical possession or in your vehicle, which also did not apply to Haverford. Regardless of this, though, the firearm in question did not have casings that matched the scene on Chumash Pier, so that point is moot. However, the prosecution was able to successfully prove today that all defendants, except for Haverford, who was wildly swinging bats at officers in Mirror Park, did engage in a firefight with officers at the gas station, and they were apprehended for it. Due to the overwhelming evidence, there was a lot of blood evidence, gunshot residue reports, casings, projectiles, photos, statements, witness testimony. After reviewing all of this, the courts will be finding the defendants guilty of all their possession charges. When it comes to the 5 times accomplice to attempted murder of an employee, the courts will also be finding them guilty. The evidence in this case was overwhelming, especially when it came to the scene in Mirror Park.
Bingo!
All defendants took part in the assault in Mirror Park and were arrested for it, so we are going to find them guilty.
God, you're fucking
At this point, I will now hand it to my co-judge, Justice Ray Montag, for the verdict of first-degree murder.
All right, this is a tricky one.
Yes.
Because essentially what was asserted by the defendants were 3 separate counts, or 3 separate affirmative defenses. These cleanly and clearly break into 3 separate categories. The first is a mistake of fact. This is based, a mistake of fact is generally speaking based on an honest and a
John, I'm ready to run.
The defendant had about a fact which undermines the
I'm ready to run, baby.
or the intent surrounding the crime. In this particular instance, the defense argues that it was a simple case of mistake, Your Honors. We thought that Peachingle Dan, a young woman who was wearing a red jumper and a bear mask, was in fact a 600-pound Kodiak bear that we are best friends with. This court does not believe there's a reasonable mistake as to the identity of the victim. The defendant's counsel has asserted to this court that the defendants were in fact friends with Boris the bear, a several hundred-pound bear walking on all 4 legs, versus Peachingle Dan, a female described.
So
We're just gonna act like Peachingle isn't 500 pounds.
She's pretty fat.
She was not in a mechanical bear suit. She
Well,
was
she
not
was
even
fat
dressed
before
to the
she got
degree a
exsanguinated
mascot
when
at
she
a high
died.
school football game would be. This was a young woman in a tracksuit and a bear mask
not
that
in
is found
evidence.
commonly at all stores in Los Santos. We, as a judiciary, refuse to open the door to a reasonable belief that an individual who is wearing a mask is actually an animal. That's ridiculous, and defense counsel should feel ashamed
Should've
for
argued
even
the
positing
arcade.
that before this
But
court.
they confused a person for an animal earlier.
The second articulated defense is one of reasonable reliance. This positions that the defendants are exempt from criminal charging because they reasonably relied on an articulation or an interpretation of the law by an authority which is later determined to be erroneous. This court's not.
How? They
gonna
didn't
find
prove that part.
defense to be complete, as this court does not recognize the authority of any sheriff, chief of police, deputy commissioner, or commissioner of any police department to be themselves an authority which may articulate an understanding of the law which may be relied upon by the average citizens. This judiciary, its legislation, publicly available outside of the courthouse, and even its lawyers exist for the very purpose of interpretation of the law. Simply because one sheriff insists that they may authorize the death of an individual or an animal does not make that a reasonable articulation upon which a citizen may rely.
What? They're the law!
Further, a twat in and of itself is not such an articulation upon which any reasonable citizen would rely. Regardless of allegations of forgery of that twat, there was no official press briefing, there were no official news articles, there was not even a direct conversation, which was stated by the defense to have occurred in this case. So we're going to throw that defense to the wind as well.
All right, this is bad.
And that brings us to the final defense, entrapment. Very cleanly and concisely put by the defense during their closing argument and not a moment before. As articulated previously by, I believe it was actually myself in the Gunther Clean case, entrapment requires two prongs. The first, to put it generally, is that the government induces the crime. Simple creation of an opportunity is not enough to satisfy this element. There must be some sort of force or persuasion that actually creates the opportunity for this crime to exist.
$1 million is
In this case, and this is the first time of any of the 4 judges that I polled. In this case, that element is satisfied. In this case,
suck it,
Sheriff
PD!
There's another announced a bounty of $1 million.
Oh, thank you, judges!
This court finds that it is sufficient for an act that this is a sufficient action by a member of law enforcement to create more than a simple opportunity, but instead to persuade or even maybe coerce some individuals into committing offenses that they may otherwise not commit. $1 million for some people is, simply speaking,
Hey, we walk, we're walking, y'all.
Next, we have to look at the second element, a lack of likelihood or predisposition of the defendants to commit the crime of which they are alleged without persuasion. Now, the defense rolled a risky die on this one because this opened each and every one of you up to me looking at your criminal records and saying what you may or may not be predisposed to do. That factor was kinder to some of you than others. We don't think that these defendants are idiots.
Gulp? I'm an
gonna be
idiot.
completely
I'm definitely an
transparent with
idiot.
you. I believe that it was your attempt to pull a fast one on members of law enforcement to pass Peachingle Dan off as Boris the Bear to net a quick $1 million. You were friends with Boris, you knew what he looked like, and it was pretty obvious by the hidden dip of throwing the body in the CVPI that there wasn't a lot of intention of having conversations about what transpired.
He just shaved his hair.
However, the simple fact is that if not for the announcement of the bounty that was posted by Kyle Pred, the defendants would not have committed this particular and heinous offense.
Right.
Put very simply, if not for a $1 million bounty on a bear, even looking at these defendants in the light of day that they stand in now, even knowing that they were probably trying to pass a fast one over on law enforcement officers, they would not have been hunting down individuals wearing bear masks. That onus falls on Kyle Pred.
Oh, that's right, baby. That's right. Yes.
So the defense of entrapment is satisfied.
Oh!
However, that brings us to a question we have not had to answer before, and that is what happens whenever a law enforcement officer entraps individuals into committing murder. This court is not satisfied that entrapment, especially when that entrapment bleeds into a secondary offense to which the intent must be transferred, is a full and complete shield for the defendants. As stated, we're not convinced that a mistake of fact happened under these circumstances. These defendants knew very well what their actions were and what the results may be. Accordingly, we find the affirmative defense of entrapment as having been proven and are genuinely surprised that there is not a 7th defendant sitting in this courtroom. We mitigate the charges that have been levied against them to 2nd-degree murder and sentence the defendants to the statutory sentencing contained within our guidelines.
I told him.
Gil admitted.
You admitted to Wait,
Bingo.
Let me
fucking cook.
go. You're going to jail,
Your Honor,
motherfucker.
Fingill pleaded guilty though.
Yeah, I pled guilty.
Please give Fingill the death penalty.
Give him a
us
death
all
penalty,
favor.
please.
Please give him.
Give him the
Wrap up
Peach
your
Ingle
electric
special.
chair.
Yeah. I mean, you killed a Danzo, you know? Lando forgot the call.
He for what? He what?
Oh, no!
Oh.
He forgot the comma.
He twatted.
He twatted the picture.
Oh.
I'm going home.
Maybe we should get out of here.
You can't get charged for it, right? It's like
You're wearing a mask. You're wearing a mask, Bjorn. You're the only smart one.
Yeah. They better not belly ID me.